I'm gonna call this.
I call the meeting to order.
You call it to order.
You're at the chair right now, sir.
I was like, please, 30 seconds of our new meeting. Good.
Thank you, Board Member Malin. So I will call the meeting to order. We're gonna do a precursory roll call. And the reason I'm doing this and not Scott is board terms, just FYI for new folks, run April 1 through March 31. And even if you have a 3-year term, it all starts over again every year. Because our charter states that boards will nominate their own chair and vice chair at their first meeting in April. So technically in April, you don't have one, which is why you get the clerk. For those of you who know me or don't know me, I am Colleen Norton. I'm your city clerk. I'm joined tonight with Elizabeth Watts, our management fellow, and Mayor Pro Tem Stephen Barr as your liaison. I'm going to do a quick roll call. We'll go around the room. Board Member Frazier, Board Member Paval, Board Member Toth, Board Member Dombrowski.
Present.
Is that correct, or
Dombrowski.
Dombrowski? Okay.
He's a W.
Okay, I love it. Board Member Conklin.
Here.
Board Member Malin. Okay. And Board Member Kite.
Here.
Awesome.
Only 1 minute too.
I know, I love that. Come on in.
Tender.
So again, tonight's a little different because it is our first meeting in April. And so we are going to do a brief orientation and some overview training. And to kick that off, I am going to cede the floor to Mayor Pro Tem Barr. And then when he's done, we'll get into some training.
Quick question.
Yeah.
I am taking no notes.
You are taking no notes.
Been fired.
Got the day off.
Turns out the computer's taking all the notes from now on.
Amy emailed me to ask if she got fired. I was like, we both did. You and me both.
Well, thank you, Colleen, and thank you all for showing up and starting off this new term. Thank you to our 2 new members as well for volunteering to be part of the city. I'm really excited about not only the work that this board has done during the last year, but really where that work is all headed. I'm the liaison to this board, not just because I drew a random name out of a hat. It's because I actually really enjoy this subject matter. And I take the suggestions that you all make very seriously and presenting that work to our council and our staff. I can't wait to see the first version of this board's work plan in the future. By the way, you might notice I'm saying board instead of Environmental Stewardship Committee. And I see some head nods as to why that occurred. So glad you all are on board. I'm glad that's recorded for posterity. I think when this board was kind of conceived, or the inception of it really came out of a strong desire, especially in the Next Generation Advisory Committee, but we also listened, I think, to the community and their desire to have environmental stewardship play a much more central role in the course of all of our, public business. And oftentimes, including myself, it tends to gravitate towards things just like public works, but as y'all may know, being part of a city, it is always, stewardship and environmental work is so much more than that. And so I'm excited to see not only this work plan, but that this previous year's cohort is now setting the table for what this board would like to do in the future and how to follow through and execute on that, on the items that are noted in that work plan. The way most of our authorities, boards, and commissions tend to work, obviously council kind of sets the tone and the direction. We may have special projects, we may have singular reports or, concept notes or studies that come out where we might request that you all say, provide some feedback on it. And that can be done as a group, it can be done individually. I am still like your individual, I am a council member. You all are obviously welcome to email and get in touch with us as council members, just as your elected representatives at any time. I will say too, that keep in mind that when it pertains to things like environmental stewardship and the work that you're conducting, come together with your board and create consensus around some of the items, priorities, actions that you all want to take. And, you know, if you want to get in touch with me individually and say, I think this one thing personally is just moving in the wrong direction, or boy, I really wish we had included X, Y, or Z, that is absolutely still within your right. So as you kind of walk through this year and walk through this work, you know, try to hold both things in your hand, that you have the rights of that citizen to reach out to us, as well as commenting as part of this board. You know, in terms of, you know, work in this coming year, your action plan obviously has just a long and very detailed, but like really comprehensive list of things to be done. And, you know, the work of city government and most all local government is one of working in a place of scarcity and limited resource. So we would be depending upon you to help us find where there are opportunities that may arise. Obviously, in today's working environment, there may be more opportunities rather than less. Those things may change in coming years. And quite honestly, we as council members obviously have a ton of things to balance. So we would depend on you to say, hey, did you know that these things are changing? Or did you know how this new piece of water conservation and turf grass replacement legislation is affecting us in our city? And here are some opportunities where we can expand on it. Or vehicle emissions laws for parked vehicles. I mean, there are so many things happening simultaneously. We as council honestly just cannot keep track of it, despite even our personal passions for the subject matter. So feel free to bring us new ideas. Feel free to point out things to us, and we will, you know, come to you and say, our council, you know, as my job as a representative is also not just to push my own personal agenda or the stuff I think is fun or important, but like really to gain consensus amongst, or at least a majority of consensus amongst my council to say, I feel that we should do a little bit more in-depth study on the use of turf grass in Kettering Park through the master plan development. Or can we close off additional roadways and make them more pedestrian friendly in our downtown area? So if I feel like I have enough direction from my fellow council members, I can bring these things to you. So yeah, like that's, you know, a little bit about my kind of role and responsibility. I'll typically try to show up to the meetings for the first part, give you some brief announcements, give you heads up on things that are coming. Also, I'd invite you both, since you're new members, to, and obviously this goes for everyone, to come to our regular sessions on Tuesdays. You know, and if you have a question about something on the agenda, you know, feel free to just shoot me an email or a text and say, you know, would it be okay if I came and spoke on this? Absolutely. If you're going to speak on behalf of the Environmental Stewardship Board, make sure you do gather that consensus amongst your group first. But again, you're more than welcome to come to those meetings and speak out on subject matter as well. And obviously, upcoming in April is going to be the presentation of the ESB's first, you know, the inaugural work plan. Of obviously, you know, you haven't written a spec of it. However, please come and be part of this group. You know, none of us would feel that you are taking credit for work others have done, but you're there to be participating and engaged. And quite frankly, to see how we as council work, how we operate, honestly, our predispositions for this kind of work amongst us. Like, we are all 7 different humans with a lot of different vantage points on very specific or technical subject matter. And your voice is welcome in that space. And if you have not participated in some of those public meetings before, our council meetings, there's opportunity to provide public comment on reports, studies, resolutions, things that are coming out during those council meetings during public comment. Study sessions do not have necessarily that public engagement and interaction space, but again, would still encourage you to at least come for one or two, or just watch them online. Just again, to get that feel and flow of work. I think that, I feel like that pretty much, I don't know if I'm asking you if I've missed something for which you have no context. That's all I really wanted to say. I guess maybe a little bit about me. I'm also an environmental engineer. I work for a nonprofit working on technical assistance for water, wastewater, stormwater projects. So I get all like jazzed and excited on the subject matter, but also broadly just the work that y'all. I think there's a lot of really exciting opportunities in the future, but again, it's a resource constrained environment. And, quite honestly, we have a lot of priorities in terms of things like multimodal and public transportation projects throughout the city, which do speak to environmental work. So that being said, if there are projects or programs that you feel may only tangentially touch your directive, that does not preclude you from working with or interacting with other committees, our Transportation Mobility Board, our Next Generation Advisory Committee. I hope that you would get to learn and know some of those folks as well. We've got fantastic staff for you here as a resource. All those same kind of laws and regulations regarding open meetings and communications will still apply. Colleen and Liz will go into it. We are doing the best we can to push the envelope on how we communicate and collaborate and work together. It can be a challenging environment, especially coming from the private sector or almost literally any other sector. But that being said, those are kind of the rules that we operate by. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where the next year goes. So thank you both for coming out and interviewing, and hope you enjoy the experience. And I guess to the rest of you too, like if there's anything more in terms of resources, staff input, if you need my presence here to do X, Y, or Z, or bounce ideas off of me and have me bring those things to council. I know you all haven't hesitated in the past, but I just want to reiterate that that's what I'm here for. So yeah, that being said, that's kind of my preamble. Otherwise, upcoming events other than obviously your presentation, we're going to be looking at the very first series of alternative analyses for our Main Street downtown, as Denver Water rips right on through in their main replacement. I would say it's a fantastic opportunity, especially for this group, because so much conversation has revolved around stormwater management, green infrastructure, pedestrian mobility and access. And I feel like this group especially has a lot of standing to be able to weigh in on those things. And so I would highly encourage you maybe individually to reach out and send a message broadly to council or to Colleen. And if you have like a strong opinion on one of those alternatives as the council packets get posted, speak on it. I really, truly want to hear. There is no cut and dry right or wrong answers in this space, which make it challenging for me. And that's why, me soliciting you to say, please tell me like, hey, do we 2 lanes, 1 lane, no lanes? Like, let me know. These are challenging questions. And like I said, there's no right or wrong answers. And even if I disagree with you, I'm gonna still absolutely take your thoughts into consideration. Second, kind of bigger upcoming piece, we did get a presentation on that Kettering Gallup master plan. That was a large master plan. It was wide and far encompassing. I think we can do Personally, again, I thought we could do a little bit more about things like pedestrian mobility, traffic management, but also just the straight up removal of irrigated turf grass for the purpose of being irrigated turf grass. And, you know, I think a voice from this group, and I'm not trying to lead you to a particular outcome or opinion. These are some of the things that I noticed, but I would love to have you all continue to take a look at it. It is far from fully baked at this point. And the consultant is still going back and doing some, you know, shifting and seeing if we can close off more asphalty parking lot roads and, you know, make more inviting space into the interior of that planning site. So,
Cistern, right?
I-
Cistern on the parking lot.
I'm open.
and you in the cisterns,
Well, I'm getting excited.
you
about
cannot store water for that long, but anyway. You know, I'm happy to one day push the state super duper hard on quantity and time of storage of detention, you know, stormwater detention. But that might not be today. There are plenty of other things I think I would again truly value your guys' feedback on. Let me see.
Bigger go big or go home, you know?
You know, you ask for the stars and you get somewhere in between, right?
Cool.
Yeah, and honestly, if this group, from that environmental, that human perspective, pushes that Overton window of the conversation further in the direction of a pro-environmental kind of project, be it big or small, I hope that this group can do that. So, you know, I think those are the kind of the two largest things we have going on. You know, you'll probably have seen in the Littleton report. By the way, if you don't get the Littleton report, here's my plug for the comms department. Go ahead and sign up for the Littleton report, newsletter of all things going on throughout the city. And if, again, things pop up in that article and you say, I have no idea what the context for that is, or if there's an environmental bend to it, please reach out. So we kind of announced a lot of our bike and ped projects that we're going to be launching here on a fast track very soon. Safe to say the long and kind of sorry history of that is it's coming out of a time of great necessity and need for this community to see some tangible action, but it's far from done and sufficient. So Transportation Mobility Board is, you know, obviously is going to be in this coming year, taking a much stronger hand at realigning our transportation master plan. It might be well worth having that be part of your consideration as at least footnoting or providing comment and feedback on it, especially where it concerns things like our greenhouse gas emissions and air quality portions of your work. So that's, I think, another upcoming piece of intersection. But Transportation Mobility Board is actually going to be, like I said, taking a stronger role and kind of steering that a little bit differently in this new iteration. Other news and events. Nothing's much is coming to mind. Unfortunately, Cindy Perry announced her retirement, announced that she is leaving the city for
Semi-retirement.
semi-to-retire. Okay, that was generous, but you know, she is leaving the city. She's been with us for almost 3 years now. And unfortunately, she is our economic development director. So that's a challenging blow. I don't know if we have spoken since Keith Reister has also left the city as well. Brent Sutherland, who's come in and spoken to this group, is the interim public works director at the moment, and excited to, you know, have some continuity in the group. You know, all indicate, you know, I again won't even talk to you individually about personnel matters, reasons why, things of that nature. That kind of crosses that boundary. But I will say I'm happy to say that, you know, Mike Gent and our, you know, our deputy city manager is working with Brent to keep a lot of those projects kind of moving forward and on track, especially some of the ones where we have a lot of grant money at stake. I think that pretty much sums things up. Scott, I mean, you're plugged in. Is there anything you want me to recap or anything like that, Amy?
That was comprehensive, thanks.
Yeah.
It's pretty comprehensive, yeah.
And we'll have an opportunity for member introductions and for each member to
I'm
share.
sorry, I was like calling on those two specifically. You're not actually leadership right
Well,
now.
they are in the sense that they're part of the board.
Part of the board. I should have directed, but like anything else that any other y'all had questions on, other actions, projects the city's undergoing right now?
There's a couple documents like the evaluation of downtown, what to do, and then
Mhm.
what else? There was another one
Transportation master plan.
and something else maybe. Anyway, where do we find all those documents?
I'm gonna leave that in the capable hands of our team. So you will have a staff liaison that can help guide you to most of that stuff, as in Liz.
And most of it lives on the
It's all-
website. We can,
Most of it does.
we can get you links.
Most of it does live on the website. You know, there will be occasional things, for example, that have only existed in council packets and kind of preliminary or draft stages as well.
They're still on the website.
But they're still on the website, and like it just may not be in the place you would necessarily, it doesn't fall into a file tree that you might necessarily go to.
If there's something you're interested in, let me know, and I can track it down if it's publicly available, and I can share it with you, you'll get it.
Yeah, I think that about covers kind of upcoming, the latest and greatest news and events. Yeah, I don't think I got anything else. Oh, South Platte Renew, they're having a river cleanup here.
7th.
Thank you. And I hopefully can go do that for my birthday, and hopefully it won't get snowed out like it did last year.
27th's your birthday?
29th, you know, that and Casa Bonita, that's like my ideal weekend. I'm so stoked.
It's way better now.
Yeah.
Isn't saying much.
Look,
Oh, no, it's like,
It's fine.
I haven't been there, but they're.
I know I've veered off track, so rather than kind of deterring things further, I'm gonna leave y'all to your meeting this evening. But Kelsey and Andrew, thank you guys for showing up, and good to see y'all again, and like I said, stay in touch, and if you wanna grab a coffee or talk all things environment, we'll see you in a few weeks.
See you with the whole council shortly.
Yes, absolutely, and we'll see you, yeah, if I don't see you before then, looking forward to seeing you at our study session. Yes.
Oh, wait, one question. Are we the only thing on the agenda, or is this, are we still double booked?
The second, right? It's not double booking, but you're second, yeah. Well, they.
Boot that first one? Just have us?
We have talked about this, and I was told to go tell you to pound sand about your place on the agenda.
The other option is the 16th, but it would be after a full regular council session, so honestly, the 23rd.
That's where you wanna be.
All right.
After the presentation to the council, we're going to the View House. And Jeff's buying the first round, he said.
Definitely multiple view for all these
And
snacks.
don't talk business there, cause we're gonna talk about the rules.
You're gonna talk about the rules,
The
about,
Denver Nuggets.
you're allowed to talk about environmental things, just not things
Not
pertaining to the city.
We'll get to that.
Great segue.
And with that,
Thanks, Steve.
thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, good seeing y'all, and we will catch up in a few weeks.
Yeah,
Take care.
There.
All right.
Thank you.
You don't have to clap, please don't clap.
I'm going to.
Okay, so we're gonna do what I hope will be a much briefer organization and overview. We give him a hard time about it all the time. Well, at least it wasn't the chief. If it was Chief Stevens, he'd still be talking.
Put that on the record.
That's right. Oh, he knows. So this is something that we've come up with in coordination with my office and the clerk's office, the city manager's office, and input from our legal team. And so we're gonna go over, I think we have about 15 slides. Elizabeth's gonna drive. So we're gonna do, are you advancing? So the council does appoint multiple bodies, now known as boards, commissions, and committees. We no longer have authorities. We do have the DDA, but that's an autonomous board. Council's only purview over them is appointing members, approving their operating plan and budget, but they don't actually report to council or work in council's stead, much like the South Metro Housing Options. Council appoints members, approves budgets, but they don't really have the same kind of oversight and purview that they do with boards like this one, or Transportation and Mobility Board, or any of our quasi judicial boards. So all of their appointed bodies do serve in some advisory capacity. For this board, you are solely advisory. Other boards serve in an advisory capacity as well as some quasi judicial functions. And by that, I mean they actually hear applications and make decisions based on motions and votes. Some of those things lie solely with that board, others then move it to council for action. For this board, you would come to consensus. You don't actually, you may take a vote, but it's a consensus. You don't really have to do motions and seconds and things like that. And the other thing about an advisory board like this is you don't need a quorum to conduct business. Because again, you're not making motions, you're not taking actual action, you're coming to consensus. Let's go ahead on to number 2. So city council is our legislative body in the city. They are elected officials, elected by their citizenry. They act by ordinance if they are impacting our local statutes, our laws. And that might have to do with land use. It may have to do with a noise ordinance. Right now, we're working on our nuisance code, which would be code enforcement type issues. And that all goes to council to take action on. The city does operate at some level under state statute, but our code actually serves as our laws. So we can be stricter than the state. We cannot be more lenient than the state. And so council also appoints all members to their various boards. So we have to remember we are serving council. While you will have citizens come and tell you that you work for them, you don't. You are citizens like them. You are here serving council's need at their direction. Because council is a body of 7. I think you heard Mayor Pro Tem Barr talk about all the things they're looking to do and get done. That's a lot for 7 people. Mr. Malin knows that firsthand, having served on council. And I still miss you. And Amy, yes. That was before my tenure.
I think it was, yes.
Okay. As a home rule municipality, that means that we adopt our own charter, which is our overarching, it's our constitution, right? It's kind of the high level, how this city is gonna run, how our council is constituted, what our elections look like, some of those bigger items. So that is our charter. Charter can only be changed by a vote of the people. And that can either be done by council submitting a ballot question or a citizen initiated petition. But that's how the charter gets changed. The code is changed by ordinance, and that's how council acts to change those laws and things. We passed ordinance 2 in February, which changed our constitution of boards, commissions, and committees, eliminated authorities, and redirected kind of what the definitions were. And so that's all been codified and is now in our code. And I should mention our code is always up to date. We self-codify. So the day an ordinance is effective, it is updated in the code online, which is unusual. Usually you have a third party doing that, and it sits in pending for 6 months. So if you ever want to know what's going on in the city, you can always check the code and it is going to be up to date. Okay? I'm going to turn it over to Elizabeth.
Oh my gosh, this is mine. So to help you get a little bit, in 2019, Littleton did the Envision Littleton plan. And really what this did was set our long-range vision for the city, and laid out, a numerous, list of goals and actions that the city could take. So, I'm not gonna belabor this. I mean, this is, on the website. Many of you may have been part of this. It took place with, a insurmountable number of like meetings and events. But essentially this sets the vision of what we want to be and how we want to identify. And so Littleton is a place where visions and values endure across decades and generations. It's a place where nature and city living intersect. Both can be enjoyed and are guarded with a fierce sense of stewardship. So high level, this is always what we're striving for. There are a couple plans that you might find useful, and I'm happy to share this document with these specific links afterwards. But you can go ahead and you're more than welcome to take a look at that Envision Littleton plan summary. That sort of laid the groundwork for our comprehensive plan, which we will be doing an update to next year, I believe. So we're starting the planning phases of that. And then the transportation master plan, which was mentioned earlier. And so laying the groundwork for a lot of like how we anticipate taking these actions. We are currently working on 20 years is a long time. So Envision Littleton established that 20-year plan. How in the heck are we gonna do that? We have yearly staff work plans that lay out what specifically staff will be working on for the next year, and those go to the city manager for review. And then that vision was really created by our community. And so we are currently drafting a strategic plan to sort of lay out in high level terms, like what the city will be focusing on, and city council helps set some of those priorities. And then staff comes back and says, here is what we actually tangibly can do and get done in this next year to make motion and move towards that. Yep, and all of those, and that informs all of our budgeting process. And so it's a really big, this plan is gonna come out later this year, should be coming in May. May 14th, I believe, is our city council date. And this is just sort of like a rough framework, but just to show you that those department, but those department work plans, you still can't see it anyways. Those department work plans is what that says, are those 1 year tangible things. Those are things that rely on budget. We have to plan for those. We can't do anything that is outside of that budget. Those 2 to 3 years are really high level things that we want to get done, that we're saying, regardless of, well, budget comes into play, but really we're saying, what do we want to accomplish in 2 to 3 years towards that 20-year goal?
And what do we have to give up to make that
And a
happen?
lot of that does, right? So for example, you heard Councilmember Barr talk about pedestrian and bike safety, and that has really been a heightened need in the community. And elevating that to a priority shifts the way that we can do and maintain certain things. And so, as we get into the next stages of talking about the action plan, council will have to determine what sort of things, if they prioritize something here, what do we deprioritize here? And that's just a literally that's our jobs every day. Like, that's governance. So this is really gonna sort of help us so that anybody in the community could say, like, what is Littleton doing to get to this like really broad 20-year plan? You'd be able to pull this up and say, oh my gosh, okay, so in like the next 3 years, here are some of the biggest priorities. And then work plans are really showing how in that year we're getting those things done. And then outcome indicators will be coming, but really we will have a public dashboard to say, like, how are we actually tracking on these things? And it's really like a broad range of metrics, mostly like industry standard things that to show that we're moving towards that 20-year vision.
Okay, back to me. So just a real quick overview. I'm not going to read this to you because I'm guessing y'all have advanced degrees. I'm guessing reading comes into that. So I trust y'all can read it. But just to kind of go over responsibilities, and some of these things that are on here are more pertinent to quasi-judicial boards, but a lot of it does apply as well. So department staff really is here to help prep things for your meeting. Agendas, packet materials. Now, for a board like this, a lot of that can be based on input from the board, things that you've drafted. Now we're getting ready for them to become more final. That's what staff is here for. The clerk's office is here to make sure we get your meetings scheduled, make sure everything is legally posted. There are requirements under the open meetings law for timeliness of posting, what that posting needs to look like, what constitutes a posting, what constitutes a meeting. Now that we are no longer doing minutes or summaries, because minutes are for actions taken, motions made, right? So really what Amy was doing was capturing some summary notes. It's not actionable. We've gone to now we're doing recordings of the meetings, which will be posted online within 3 business days after the meeting. So anyone who isn't able to attend or wants to go back and say, what did they say? They can go in, watch it, hear it. Yes.
Did any changes happen as far as remote participation in conjunction with any of that?
You wanna?
So we, council has determined that members of advisory bodies, therefore yourselves, should an instance come up in which you cannot make it to a meeting, you can join virtually. You need to let me, the chair, and the clerk know.
And we would provide you with the link at that point.
Yep.
Because we're not gonna put it on the agenda. Our intent is not for the public to attend remotely. You know, and we're beta testing this, right? Like, we're gonna see how this works, if there are other opportunities that come from it, but great questions. So thank you for that.
Just try to do it at least 24 hours in advance, and then we can
Work travel comes up or something.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great.
Well, and there are gonna be
Yeah.
things with family that come
Yeah.
up, kids, you know.
They have.
things like that. We get it.
I will just specify that council did make very clear that their hope for all of these meetings is that people are mostly in person. So while things absolutely come up, and we don't necessarily, at this point, we did need a quorum previously because we were taking action on meeting minutes, but that was the only thing. So, you know, if 2 people are in person and 3, that's fine. But their goal is still that these are like really fleshed out meetings. You will always have the staff liaison in person. And then, yeah, the public, at this time is not able to join virtually, but they will have access to all of these after.
Nice to hear we've joined the 21st century.
And the upside to videos, so there was a time when the recorded video of even council meetings were our minutes of record. And you know, we timestamped all of those so you could go right to the spot you wanted to see and hear. And I'm a big advocate that words matter, not intent. And you know, we would get council members when we were doing written minutes, well, I may have said that, but it's not what I meant. Well, but it's what you said. Now with a video, what you said is what you said. There's no arguing it. Plus with video, you get body language, you get intonation. With the printed word, you don't get that. And you tend to intone whatever you're feeling at that time. That's how you read it. And you're putting that on somebody else. And so I'm glad that we're doing this. Saves Amy some time. Be much more participative.
We will tell you the hours we've spent.
But it'll be awesome. And then within 3 business days, it'll be posted on our videos and agendas page, so anybody can go back and see it.
Will it also be transcribed?
No. Now, at some point,
Yeah.
because we are gonna have some ADA requirements. However, the way that these get posted, I believe that there is a mechanism to transcribe. How accurate that transcription is going to be, don't know.
Guys are using Siri.
It's whatever YouTube, I think, uses.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and I will also say, just we don't need to belabor it tonight because it's not, we don't need to quite get there yet. But the other change that was already sort of happening, but council sort of reaffirmed, is a semi-annual narrative or a report. And so it will essentially be a condensed version of minutes almost, right? So it's like high level. You'll do those twice a year. One will be in June, so it'll be coming up, so we'll be talking about it soon, and one will be in December. Mostly to say, here is what we are super stoked on this upcoming year and here's what we want to accomplish.
And here's what we've done.
And then here's what we
Where we
did.
are.
And then you'll also still have that annual meeting in person with council at a study session. So there are other mechanisms now in place that are more formal and are also across every board, commission, and committee. So it's not as ad hoc, like we're trying to make sure that there's consistency, and that all of the bodies are doing sort of the same thing and have the same expectations.
Okay. You wanna go on? Thanks. So some resources that will be available to you or already are. So we sent out the handbook, which was recently redrafted, and that is for all of our boards, committees, commissions to adhere to. The city operates under a very loose interpretation of Robert's rules. We like to call it Bob's rules. You know, for anyone, I am actually a parliamentarian. It's not sexy. And Robert's rules make no sense to logical people. The verbiage, the wording, it's very confusing. But both your clerk and your city clerk are certified parliamentarians. So we use Bob's rules, right? And a lot of how we conduct meetings can be fleshed out in council's legislative rules, as well as their standards of conduct and protocol. Those are council's documents, but all of our boards, commissions, and committees are held to those same standards. You know, council's here, boards and commissions follow council. And so council's documents are available online. And again, Elizabeth and I will get together. We will get all of these links in one page, get it emailed out to all of you. So you have the hyperlinks. You can go get them, find them, things like that. If you're ever looking for something on the website and you can't find it, pick up the phone and call one of us because we probably have a shortcut to get there. Okay? Don't pull your hair out and waste time with it because we've probably already done that for you. Okay, here's the fun stuff, open meetings law. And I am probably going to condense the next 3 slides together. So this is the statutory definition of what constitutes a meeting. Anytime there's more than 3 of you in a space discussing business or where action may be taken on business, that's a meeting. There are statutory requirements that say not less than 24 hours prior to that meeting, we have to post notice. Now, we have adopted as a city, we have 3 physical locations we post in plus our website. So we have to know that something's happening. So we can draft an agenda and then you can only discuss what's on the agenda. If something hasn't been agendized, you really shouldn't be discussing it, right? Because that's that whole transparency, public notice, giving citizens and the public an opportunity to know what is happening with the city's boards, commissions, and committees. Yep, go ahead. And so this means any kind of meeting. If there are 3 of you on a call, if there are 3 of you in an email chain, now Littleton's a small town, relatively-ish. This does not mean if 3 of you run into each other out to dinner or at the grocery store and have a conversation, that's not a meeting. If you start talking about business, and because it's a small town, a citizen overhears you, that could constitute a meeting and there could be pushback on that. And there are ramifications for violating the open meetings law. But if you're out in public and you start getting excited and you start thinking about things that are coming up and you start having that conversation, please, one of you have the foresight to say, wait a minute, we shouldn't be talking about this right now. Very important. I don't want to downgrade it with advisory boards over quasi-judicial. It's important for all boards to understand that we operate, and Steve Barr alluded to it, we operate under these statutes. And it's important. use your city issued emails for any business. I will get you I just got your email addresses today, so I'll get emails out to you with instructions on how to set that all up. If you're discussing business, use your city email. Be very careful with reply all. When I send things out to an entire board, I send it as BCCs to everybody. Because that way, if you reply to me, not everyone sees it. If Amy replies, not everyone sees it. There's no threat of there being an inadvertent ad hoc electronic meeting. You also have to remember your emails as part of this board are public record. So if a citizen has an inkling that 3 or more of you may have been emailing back and forth about something, they can submit an open records request. I then have IT pull all the records, and we, in all likelihood, unless it's an employee or an attorney-client privilege, would have no or very little argument on not releasing things. So just keep that in mind. So we've already talked about not less than 24 hours, specific agenda information. Open meetings law also says supporting documentation when practicable. So if we know that you're having a meeting to discuss something and you've prepared documentation, we have to provide that as much as we can. Something to keep in mind, but that's something that Elizabeth and I worry about more than y'all, but just keep that in mind. Go ahead. And we did talk about, don't talk about things that aren't on the agenda. That doesn't mean that if you have something that you want to talk about coming up, you can mention it and say, hey, let's get this on an agenda in the coming months. Just don't have a conversation about it.
With 3 or more people.
That's correct. Or even at the end of this meeting, if there's something that comes out of a discussion tonight and you say, wow, you know, there's a bunch of you that want to talk about that. Don't have a conversation about it. Just say, hey, can we get it on an agenda so we can talk about it?
We haven't run into this as much because of the type of work you've been doing and because all of the agendas have said working on
Mhm.
the
been
draft
broad.
action plan.
It's been broad.
As we sort of move into what is next, when council provides you that direction, this might become more pertinent. But it just depends. And you know, Scott knows this, and when you decide and nominate your new chair and vice chair, I reach out usually and we set up that agenda. And so your chair and vice chair will sort of be keeping tabs on things that you would like to talk about at that next meeting. So if you ever have something that you're like, oh, I didn't get this out in the meeting, but I would really like for us to chat about that, you can let the chair or vice chair know, and then, or just let me know directly and we can get it on the agenda. But yeah, with the specific way that, and the topic that you've all been working on, this hasn't come up as much. So it might seem more new, but it's really just the way that we were setting up the agenda.
And so we did say that there could be possible violations. Now, the first two really do pertain more to action that may be taken by a quasi-judicial board here. However, the final 3 to me are just as important, right? We are at the beginning and end of every day a customer service agency. How the public views the city, views this board, views each of you as a representative is important. Transparency is important. And so we don't ever want to do anything that mitigates that level of transparency. We don't want to do anything that causes a loss of trust. Now, there are a handful of citizens that aren't going to trust anything you say or do anyway. We can't save them. But the rest of them, and then the bottom one is really important. If this is something that becomes an ongoing issue with a board member, and I've only seen this happen one time in my 13 years with the city, it can get someone removed from a board. Council is going to have conversations with people first and find out why something happened. They're not just going to say, that's it, you're out of here. But it could lead to that. And that would be unfortunate for everyone because each and every one of you were specifically selected for this board based on your knowledge base training, education, passion, and to lose any member from any of our boards, because council really does put a lot of time and energy into seating these boards. Again, Scott's been part of that process before. 3 nights of interviews. Yeah, well, I'm sorry, Amy, you're gonna have to sit closer to me. You're gonna have to sit closer to me. You know, they've been part of this, and it's generally 3 very full nights of interviewing people, and it's kind of like speed dating, right? Because you have 10 minutes and you're in and you're out, and then you're really trying to figure out the best fits for each board. These are not decisions that are made lightly. And so I just want to get that out there, because you are each here for a very specific reason. And we are fortunate to have you, and we'd like to keep you. Okay? And again, be careful of your emails. Be thoughtful. Maybe take a second before you hit send to make sure you didn't include anyone you shouldn't have. Okay? Know the city charter. It's not sexy reading, but it's online. It's available for you. Any code sections that may pertain to things that you are looking at down the road, make yourself aware of those. Our online code has a very dynamic search engine. So you can find pretty much anything you need there. If you can't, call me, I'll help you find it. Also, if there is something that has happened in the past, no matter how long ago, that you hear about from somewhere and you think it may benefit you to know about it, I love me a research project. Give me a challenge.
Be careful.
I'm a former database programmer. I think differently, so research is fun for me. You know what your limits are, know what your parameters are as a board. Avoid those ex parte communications, right? Again, more likely to happen with a quasi judicial board, but just be very careful that you're not doing that. Work through your staff liaison, work through your council liaison. If you're not comfortable with either of them, work through the clerk's office, work through the deputy city manager, right? There are plenty of people here. There's a personality type for everybody, just wherever your comfort zone is. Just FYI, if you come to the clerk's office, we always have candy and we have cinnamon toast with Irish butter most days. So I'm just saying. You know.
I know that.
That Kerry Gold?
I got offered it this morning, I can vouch.
Right?
Yeah.
On Monday, we had carrot cake, so just saying. And then, if you're ever really concerned about something, we have an attorney's office for a reason. We have a city's attorney, we have a deputy city attorney, and a senior assistant city attorney. So,
No, amazing.
and they're awesome. Okay, last slide. This is questions, comments, concerns. What can we tell you that we haven't already told you? What can we answer?
Are either of you attorneys?
No.
One
One is enough for this.
Yeah.
Two.
That's the limit. That's the max. Council would.
Capacity.
Okay. Well, if there are no comments or questions, I do want to take an opportunity to go around the table for board members, not just because we have new board members, but I think it's important. Just take a minute or so, let us know who you are, what you do, why you wanted to be on this appointed body, and what you're excited about. And just that'll help our new members, I think, a little bit. Scott, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, welcome to the board of you. Thank you for being here. We really do appreciate it. My name is Scott Malin. Maybe? No, I'm kidding. I was born and raised in Littleton. My wife and I are raising our kids here now. I went through the Littleton Leadership Academy and the Littleton Police Citizen Academy, former board member of the South Metro Land Conservancy, the former at-large council member and mayor pro tem, and I've been chair of this board.
Honestly, like it's truly.
For the last year since we got started, professionally, I am an attorney.
Don't look at me for
Not a bad one.
Sure.
I'm sure what's really going here. Yeah, professionally, I'm an attorney. These days, I'm mostly doing civil rights work, and I have a niche practice suing domestic violence abusers. I have a master's degree in human rights and wrote my master's thesis on catastrophic and existential risk theories with at least a partial focus on climate change and other ecological collapses. I wanted to be on the Environmental Stewardship Board. I don't know, because I just love nature, who doesn't? And
Don't like garden.
oh, yeah, I think,
Because-
well, yeah, all right, so I'm gonna show a picture. I don't wanna Steve Barr this.
Wow. Now, huh?
He knows. My wife and I try to make as much of our own food as we can. Here's our little guy. We got our kiddos who are 5 and 8, bathing suits for Christmas. So they got the video for the first time just a couple weeks ago, where we discovered, to our absolute delight, that we overwintered successfully, all 3 of our colonies. Try to get the other one, my daughter.
Awesome.
Here's my daughter with our new chicks.
Oh.
Chicks, they are little teenagers now and very rowdy. And I don't know, what would I say about our garden? We have 9 fruit trees and we grow 13 fruit varieties, and we have the entire backyard devoted to raised bed gardening and most of the front yard as well. Yeah. Those are some-
I think you need to have a barbecue.
Yeah, Amy keeps saying that. You do, I have my coworkers over for a harvest dinner every year, because my wife likes to turn our garden stuff into food that she shares with other people. But I think, yeah, let's do an Environmental Stewardship Board.
Happy hour, no
Harvest
pressure.
right?
I just wanna see your garden.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, Amy.
Well, I will tell you that Scott does not grow squash in his
Yeah.
garden because he depends on his neighbor.
Just leaves it in bags on the porch. And
I know, I run fast. I don't joke, I live in a town that's so small, I have to lock the car door so people don't leave zucchini in my car. I'm that lady. I'm Amy Conklin. I served on council from 2003 to 2007. You know, when Colleen was still in elementary school.
Oh, God, no.
Is it a mo-
I'm seeing.
Yeah, and oh boy, I've done a lot of things. I have a lot of hats. My professional training and experience in education is in water resource management. So that's, Steve and I have spent a lot of time talking about water. He was on the South Metro Land Conservancy Board with Scott and I as well. Oh, I have 3 kids. One lives 6 blocks from me and Scott's in between.
yeah.
And I have 4 grandchildren now. We went from 0 to 4 in 2.5 years. So I signed up to be on the Environmental Stewardship Committee, which was the first time I'd done anything with the city since I lost my bid for reelection, 2007, because it sounded absolutely intriguing and something where I could really make a difference. The city went through some dark times. I went through so many dark times that 2 former mayors and I, Susan Thornton and Pat Kronenberger, formed the Littleton Leadership Academy because we had people running for council who didn't know where City Hall was. And they would come down, this was their first experience in city government, was filling out their paperwork to run for council. It's like, not okay. So after 3 years of that, we were practically dead. And the city was supposed to take it over, and that didn't happen with COVID. And now ACC has taken it over. So their inaugural class started in a couple months ago. Yeah, I encourage you to look into that if you find this a worthwhile experience. They're gonna do a really good job and they're set up to do academies, so that's me. If you have specific questions, go ahead and ask them, but I wanna hear about you guys.
So I'm Kelsey Dombrowski. I am a researcher at National Renewable Energy Laboratory. But my background's actually not in energy. I'm an urban planner and social science researcher by training. So prior to working at the lab, I worked for Arapahoe County as a planner for several years, working closely with the board on code updates, development projects, including, solar and commercial development, working closely with our engineers on stormwater management. And the bees and chickens reminded me that I did the bee and chicken ordinances for the Arapahoe County Land Development Cut, the LDC. And, being a planner and now working in energy, that's, a lot of environmentally tangential experience, but even further back, part of my degrees are in agriculture, so I really care about land uses and planning, but also thinking about cultivating land and how we can work that into our urban settings as well. My educational background is in environmental planning and policy, community development, and environmental studies with a focus in food and agriculture. And throughout my career, I've had several jobs in local government, several jobs in nonprofits, and several jobs at research institutions. So I'm kind of slotted into a lot of different fields. I lived in Littleton for a little over 6 years. I moved here for my job at the county. And I did a lot of research before I moved here, and Littleton was what I wanted. So I moved into an apartment, and then a couple of years later, I bought a house down the street from my apartment. And when it's nice, I can walk to these meetings. It's a really great setup, and I really like the city. I volunteer with the Criterium every year, taking classes at ACC. So I just really like the city. So I'm very happy to be here and to use my broader environmental knowledge, since my position is very focused on energy and I have a lot of other interests in the field. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, I'm Andrew. Nice to meet you all. This is really exciting. I've been wanting to do something like this, to become involved in essentially local government, but I've just been moving until now. It's like every couple of years we move. So hopefully that means we're done for a little while, Yeah, so I'm from Colby, Kansas. It's about 3 hours east of here. The Oasis on the Plains. Used to be the only Starbucks between Denver and Salina. I think that changed. That was our claim to fame. Use what you got, I'm an environmental engineer. I went to school for civil environmental engineering, and now I'm a wastewater engineer. So kind of doing what Steven does, it sounds like. I work for a consulting firm here, so we mostly consult municipalities and utilities, also work with industrial clients as well. A big push in my field right now is water reuse. So treating wastewater so that it can be used either for irrigation or up to direct potable reuse, which is like the big flashy term that I'm really digging right now. I live probably not far from you. The other site, well, kind of by is it the Peabody? What's not a Shepherd? The Peabody Community Garden? Is that it? Or the other one?
Pea Patch Community Garden.
Patch? Vita, right here, right? The big. Yep, I'm across the street from Vita, or we are, I should say.
Just across the bridge.
Yes, there you go. Right by the courthouse. Yeah. Yeah. So I walked here and love this our town. We used to live in Wash Park and couldn't afford a house there. And we didn't really know Littleton, and we've been so ecstatic to figure out that this is actually better. All the things. So my wife is a researcher. She works remotely for the University of Kansas. So we're just like really smitten with moving here. We moved here in August. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I am Gretel Pavau, and I have lived in Littleton for 20 years. I have 2 children. They both graduated from Heritage, and now they're both in college. I am a third grade teacher. I do not have background like that. But at my school, which is in Denver, at my school, I kind of spearheaded a lot of the green stuff. Like got grants and got us a dishwasher, reusable stuff. And anyway, so that's kind of why I got excited about joining, just to make a difference. And because, yeah, I would like to leave a planet that's not ruined to my children. So, anyway. Oh, and I don't have animals. I just have plants, but I also have a gigantic garden in the basement filled with sprouting seeds in a greenhouse that will house them very soon. And yeah, gardening.
I'm slab behind, yeah.
She brought some of her tomatoes.
Yes,
And pickles.
I can.
So good.
So yeah, I brought canned tomatoes and homemade pickles and stuff.
They're delightful.
Anyway, so yeah, gardening, composting is definitely my
Way to pick the coolest board to join, by the way.
thing.
Put that on the record. Yeah. Now do your cool stuff.
I make beer for a living. I'm just, well, I'm kidding, but I'm not. I work for Breckenridge Brewery. I'm the environmental and safety manager there. I have been in Littleton. I moved right before COVID. I've stopped doing the math at a certain point and just say like, that's my frame of reference. Yeah. But I moved here for work. I'm from Texas originally, and so I'm part of the cohorts coming from Texas and California. No, don't come at me too hard. But I have a degree in meteorology. So I started my career in air quality consulting, have slowly moved into other environmental fields. I worked for Anheuser-Busch for almost 8 years doing environmental, and I've kind of started to encompass safety as part of that as well, but my passion definitely still lies in the environmental work. I am pursuing a master's in sustainability currently, so that's really fun. And I have a 6-month-old, so that is also really fun. I don't have the flourishing gardens that everyone else has.
No, but I'll still bring this is your first board.
I was on the Next Generation Advisory Committee. I was chair for a year, and we definitely, and I was also the sustainability subcommittee chair within that committee. And we definitely pushed really hard for this now board to be formed. So it was definitely a really exciting thing to see to come to fruition last year. So
That's your garden.
that's my garden. Yeah.
Anna is also really way better at like organization and whatever program
Processing.
plan together than any of us, so
I know my work
Yeah,
my
thank
way
you
around a
for-
Word document.
truly very, very fast and impressive. My name is Jeff Frazier. My family and I, my wife Jess, and our 2 kids, Clayton and Sage, 6
We're
and
both
3.
super cute. I got to meet both of them on the trail.
Oh yeah, or at least, yeah, probably both of them, yeah, a couple times, we always
You were
run into
walking
each
your
other on
son
the
to
trail.
school and then you were driving,
Yeah,
pedaling to the playground. Yeah,
oh, that's right,
we live very close apparently because we.
yeah, I love those trail meetups. We moved here almost exactly 3 years ago during peak COVID from our like 800 square foot above ground house in Englewood with our 12 and 14-year-old dogs. And I might be crazy, but I think I'm gonna try to get chickens this weekend because I don't have enough living beings to care for at the moment. In Englewood, I was pretty active and helped found a citizens environmental group to kind of kick our council in the pants to do more environmentally. And now one of our members is the mayor and also a good friend of mine. And I think he's doing a great job. But love Littleton. Couldn't be happier to be here. We live right next to Heritage, over on Meadowbrook so we can walk our kiddos to Runyon. Love the trails. I'm an avid outdoorsman as much as family and work obligations allow. I like to split board. I'm working on the 14ers. been a little slower the last couple of years at ticking them off. What else? I like to fly fish, and I've seen through travels and otherwise the changes that are happening in the high alpine and water resources and elsewhere all over the world. For work, I am also an attorney. Don't hold it against me. I'm in-house counsel for a company that owns and manages apartments across the country. Do a lot of different types of things. The fun part is they own Monarch Ski Area, 100% natural snow. We don't make snow there. Check it out if you've never been, it's fun. And just kind of wanted to be a part of this committee to, because honestly, when I moved here, I was pretty appalled, frankly, that the city of Littleton hadn't done basically anything environmentally. There's no climate action plan. There's no much of anything, but being a part of this board's been really rewarding so far. And I think we've got some great work product, and I'm excited to see where we go from here. It's a good group.
Wow. A lot of experience in this room. I'm impressed. A little jealous.
She's jealous you're not her board, but you're mine, so sorry.
That's right. Now, the only board I get anymore is council. My deputy took all the other ones away from me. Okay, so my last act for tonight will be to get board leadership nominated and elected. So at this point, we're gonna start with the role of chair. Anyone can nominate anyone. There is no shame in self-nomination. I'm just saying, people know the roles they were born to play. Don't sit there and be quiet. Do we have any nominations for chair?
I'll make one. I'd like to nominate member Scott Mullen again. I think he's done a fantastic job keeping us on track through a lot of different things and many ideas and thoughts, and has done a good job listening to all of those thoughts and inputs while also keeping us on track, which is a difficult balance to maintain, I think. So I'd nominate Scott as chair, but.
Okay, do we have any other nominations? Okay, so, I'm sorry.
Oh, don't you dare.
We have to see if there's anything else. We're not to voting, and I'm gonna give you a chance to accept.
Who does he want to?
Well, I'm gonna give you a chance.
I would like to see women in leadership.
Ooh.
And, ask if Amy or Gretel or Hannah or Kelsey, if you want, even though you're new, would want to serve as chair.
Hard pass.
Okay.
I'd be happy to serve as vice chair, but I don't think I have the time or capacity to serve as.
I agree with what she just said.
That was a great attempt.
I'll nominate Hannah to be vice.
We're not there yet.
Hang on.
That's leadership.
It is. Okay, so with no other nominations for chair, and I know I said earlier advisory, we don't act by motions and votes, but in this instance, we do. So in order, first of all, Scott, do you accept the nomination? Are you interested in serving as chair?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't wanna, I mean, thank you, Jeff, for those kind words. I don't want to, I think it's healthy for organizations to have rotation in leadership. I do think it's awesome anytime we can have women in leadership, but if the group wants me to continue serving, I'm happy to do that.
Okay. With no other nominations for chair, do I have a motion to appoint Scott Mullen as chair?
Motion to appoint Scott Mullen.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So with a mover in board member Height and then board member Pavao seconding, we'll just do a thumbs up for all in favor. You can vote for yourself.
Thank you, Scott.
It won't matter. It won't matter. You're the majority.
You're like, I'll still take it, but I wanna be.
Okay, congratulations, Chair Malin. Now, nominations for vice chair.
I'll nominate Hannah as
second.
vice chair.
We're not to motions and seconds yet. You guys are so excited.
I know.
I know.
Just do it already.
I love it. Is anyone else interested in being considered for vice chair, or are there other nominations? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to appoint Hannah Kite as vice chair.
Motion to appoint Hannah Kite as vice chair.
I second her motion.
Thank you, Amy.
Woohoo, the women. Motion and we seconded.
I know, look at the validation.
And you're all gonna
I love
vote too.
Okay, good.
Okay, all in favor of appointing Hannah Kite as vice chair? Okay, it's unanimous. Congratulations. So with that, it is 7:45. I am going to adjourn the transitional meeting, which is what we've been doing this whole time. I'm gonna do one more quick roll call for the regular meeting, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Chair Malin. Okay.
Sorry, before we.
Oh, do you want to do that real
Do
quick?
you mind if I?
No, not at all.
If you did have time to fully read the handbook and are ready to sign your life away, not really, but ready to sign that you have read it and affirmed, then I have the sign off sheet for you in person right now. Otherwise, if you didn't and are still want a little bit more time, I can send you a DocuSign, and so you could have the weekend. Just let me know. We can do it at the very end too before you leave. I'll send these around, and then if you want to sign it, great, and I'll collect it. Otherwise, if I don't get one back from you, I will send you the DocuSign link tomorrow. And now we can. Oh, thank you.
That's right. Just like your chair. You're ready to sign this one.
The last time I left it in my bag.
Well, last time, yeah, I don't even think. You definitely got it signed though at some
Yeah.
point, recorded.
Okay, so I'm gonna do another quick roll call before I leave you this evening. Chair Malin,
Here.
Vice Chair Kite.
Here.
Member Frazier,
Still present.
awesome. Member Pavao,
Here.
Member Toth,
Here.
Member Dombrowski.
Here.
Member Conklin.
Here.
You still have a quorum, although you don't need one. I'm a clerk, I just always announce quorums.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you so much for your input. I am really excited to see what y'all do this year. I'm so impressed by the talent and the passion in this room.
We have worked so hard.
I know you have.
Were you trying to make a joke? Cause you really have, like,
I was not
oh, thank goodness. I was like, are you trying to be funny? Cause like.
Okay, well, I'm gonna leave you in Elizabeth's capable hands and Scott's, and thank you so much. We'll see ya.
I'm.
Do this again tomorrow night for next year.
Right.
This is my first.
Playlist for you. I need to.
Public comment if you wish to address the board under public.
Email it to me.
comment.
I want
Sign
to.
in.
Well, actually.
Get
it to you.
You go on the public speaker.
That.
We live in communities.
Yeah, very good.
Discussion topics.
You'll enjoy it.
Draft environmental steward action plan. Tonight's the night, people.
I know.
Exciting. So where we left it was, we have a completed draft that is a group we reviewed from top to bottom in its entirety. Only things left to do were, Jeff wanted to, and others, but I think someone was gonna take the lead and potentially reorder your document.
I reordered it.
Oh, you
So
did?
it should be in,
Mastermind.
yeah, Hannah did it. we reached out, we're good. If you want, I can pull it up and you guys can just, basically
There's a lot of
Do you have
like,
to like manually
finding
review all the
reports.
numbers?
I did a lot of
yeah,
finding.
and then basically sort of.
It wasn't like.
Give the, so that version
Thank
will be
you.
going to council. And then if
That
you
would've
would
taken,
like, we can
like,
chat a little bit about if there's anything in staff communication that you want me specifically to write.
Yeah.
Cause I'll draft the staff communication that will sort of be the foundation for this.
Yeah.
And then if you just wanna talk about, we will have a prompt, for council really needs to sort of give you all direction on sort of like what is next, like this was your deliverable. And so I have that as part of the staff communication for you all to discuss, and if you wanted to discuss tonight what your hopes of moving forward, but I think we can start with just like
Yeah.
taking a look at.
Let's just take a look as a group real quick at the new order. And thank you for doing
Yeah, of course. Do you want me to share? That way, if we do have any small edits, I can just go ahead and make them.
Yeah, that's, let me, yeah,
Share the Zoom meeting with me.
absolutely.
While Hannah's pulling that up, is there anything else? I can't remember. I don't think so. I think we got it done other than the reordering.
I think there might have been one comment.
I got some notice that you had commented on something.
Jeff?
No, Kayla.
It wasn't me this
Hannah
time.
resolves comments.
I resolved
Yeah,
a lot of
I don't know
comments that were in there, so when I was reordering, I just cleaned up the document. But for some reason, I'm thinking there was like one left from you.
There's something about a
At the
footnote.
very, very end.
There's something about a footnote, like we needed to add a footnote or something.
I added in footnotes.
Yeah. It's beautiful, by the way, like the documents. Oh, the other thing I do wanna get your feedback on, cause I don't know that I was here at the meeting when you may have talked with Mike. But if you are, I've been chatting with our our creative services department, and if you want them to make pretty the document, just knowing that like, we now have not that long before it needs to be in the packet to go to council, like I have to start submitting it on the 12th. But they have offered to, if you want them to like add some pictures or whatever, but there's, I mean, it's up to you, or you can also do
Real
that.
fast, before you do that, have you sent me a Zoom?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Go through, sometimes it takes like,
I didn't make it,
Okay,
but
yeah, I'm just waiting.
I normally make it.
Or even, I don't know if you're able to also just let me know, I can just use the Zoom ID to get in as well.
So Andrew and Kelsey, have you looked at the
Perfect.
plan?
Yeah.
Been able to access it?
Did go through it, yeah.
Yeah. Good, because that would be frustrating.
yeah.
And I am highly in favor of letting the creative group make it visually appealing.
Do they also do copy edit? Just in case, it's like we missed something? Or is it just visual? Up to you.
Well, if you give them that, they will.
There we go.
Okay, I've tried to be like pretty clear that like really if there's any changes that it would just be visual for like adding some pictures or. Oh, yeah, yeah, sorry, 17 screens, it's like crazy.
I also had one more request then. One of the hats I'm currently wearing is chairing a Littleton community retreat that is on sustainability. It was born out of my frustration with some of the restrictions one has serving the public capacity. And I'm trying to make the visual of the materials having to do with the retreat consistent with whatever is on the environmental action plan. Because the environmental action plan is going to be presented at the retreat on September 13th. And I was kind of hoping you did it. You might have to arm wrestle Kyle and Steve. I don't know. I don't know.
Whatever,
Okay, but I think you'd probably be the best person to do it unless somebody else wants to, but. Okay, so does anybody object, mostly you, Elizabeth, but especially board members, if we take some of the graphics that are used in the environmental action plan and replicate them in materials like a poster or brochure to be developed,
Very good idea.
like that?
Just things from this document. And,
It'll be a public document.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess, yeah, I don't really need permission.
I don't think you need our permission, yeah.
I think it's great.
But we
I
give
mean,
it to you anyway.
I don't think the creative team's gonna get territorial about like intellectual property. It's public
No.
document and it's.
Well, and
for
it's
the
our-
greater good.
It's you're our board, like, so. The photo, I mean, the most we even ask from consultants is just to credit the photos to the city. But if it's the document that's already, I don't see like a.
I just want to be way about that, but you look at it and say, oh, boy, that looks familiar.
Hannah, why don't you walk us through what you've done and
So basically, I think it was just 2 or 3 sections that kind of got swapped around. So the order that you see here, we can kind of look at it just in the table of contents. Air quality emissions was deemed the highest important topic, so that's the first one. Built environment then became second. consumption and waste diversion third, natural environment fourth, and water fifth, with ending on community as the sixth topic. So I apologize, I missed the last meeting, but this was the order that was determined to be how we wanted to present it. So.
I kind of thought we put water third, fifth, but I don't care.
Don't remember.
Fine either way, I mean,
Just leave it the way it is, don't mess with it.
my big one was air quality and emissions first.
What do we need to do to finalize this? Yeah, we just need that consensus, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Has
think
everyone, I mean, not that really we have that much more time, but has everyone had a chance to review it? Are there any concerns with as it stands now?
Thought it was final.
I'd love to hear from our.
Well, good. Yeah, was there anything?
With all your expertise and thoughts, if there's anything we're missing, which I'm sure we are.
And you mentioned copyright, if there were any sentences you found that are small tweaks.
Yeah, no, I didn't see any, but you know, the pros, they have like an
Yeah.
alphabet and stuff.
Yeah.
The only thing I had a question on was costs. So I wasn't sure if those were like intentionally excluded, because there's a lot of potential actions. So coming up with cost estimates for all of that is like very challenging, and it would have to be arranged. But I didn't know if you wanted to add like, even just like a sentence, like cost estimates have been excluded for XYZ reason, just to acknowledge that you know that, you know, rather than letting it go through without that. But that's just a real minor suggestion.
And to give you a little bit of background, yes, that it would have taken a lot of effort to try to come up. I think at one point we even toyed with like having a range, and we were like, even that would just be a crapshoot. So I think it's somewhat encompassed in the effort category. But you know, I'm okay adding in a small sentence. I don't know how y'all feel about that.
Is there a description of how the impact and effort meters were made? Like. And I guess as someone reading it for the first time, I was like, okay, it seems good, but like I could see questions like, how was this evaluated?
Sure.
And similar to the cost thing, it could just be a clarification up front, like we've used our knowledge and experience and judgment to make these. We didn't consult or go out for bids or whatever. I mean,
So
some sort of clarification might be good.
if you go to page, what is it, 2?
And it might be there, I don't know.
This one?
Yeah, the last, second to the last sentence of the first paragraph. We could add in a sentence before the last sentence that says, yeah, there you go. It says, something about impact and effort reflect professional judgments, commitment.
Like the definition of the board.
Well, and to specify, the staff communication has a portion for fiscal impact. And in that draft, I had pre-written that while this plan doesn't have any for council to consider in reviewing these, each would need to be evaluated for which is like if we talk about what is next for if council decides that they want you all to now add that piece. That could be something that they say, great, now your next 6 months can be spent coming up with, or there's a possibility, I mean, cause at this point too, like city staff have not reviewed or reflected at any point on this. And so it's possible that then council says, great, we have this draft from you, we're gonna give staff 6 months and then come back with a implementation timeline or whatever. So it might be a suggestion, but that could be adding the cost if you all feel that that's really valuable, which it is, but like the timeline originally, by the way, was like 6 months. So it was insane. Could absolutely be something that you spend the next 6 months on.
Say, sorry, impact meters. So active on something. Do we capitalize the board? I can't remember what we were doing.
I wasn't sure.
And then, the next
I could also say ESB instead of the board.
Yeah,
I don't.
the next sentence could be, for now, budgetary considerations have been left out, but the ESB plans to return to that in detail in the future.
That also sets you up for like a nice like next step. But council should hopefully provide you that direction on the 3rd. Hopefully gonna be like prompt in that discussion, and so they don't just like leave you, because your next meeting then would be like not that long after, so.
I don't know why these ones are showing up.
No idea.
It like went away at 1.2, so.
There's funky little dots too.
The browser version is just like,
Yeah. Yeah, I went back and forth with Elizabeth because for formatting, the browser version often shows different than the like desktop version or when you like print to PDF. So it should be formatted in such a way, because it was driving me crazy because some of the tables were like, heading was being split anyway, so.
did the version that was attached as a PDF to the agenda look good? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Cause all I did with that one was when I moved it to PDF, I just had to move some of the meters, cause they were like cutting off the like line for some reason, but that was all. So as long as that looked good, I'll.
Yeah, I think it looked fine.
And do you mind scrolling to the priorities? Just since we have a few minutes, let's just put eyeballs on it. Just because it was late.
Oh, yeah. We were pretty fried.
How long did we? Oh, God, I feel bad. I missed
31.
Really hard at it.
I literally would have been asleep. There's no way.
30-minute drive was like mine.
What is the intended next step, or what are the intended next steps with this? Is the council to say, okay, you guys have 109, 10, some number, big number, like, is that gonna get condensed to like, I don't know, some smaller number, and then we do something with that, or what's
So,
the idea?
So part of an answer to that question will emerge from our meeting with council.
Okay.
Because it's what they asked us for.
This was the like,
And now it's their turn again.
Okay.
Tell us.
but if you have like a recommendation of, that's also a.
Up to speed.
Yeah. But if you're like, hey, this is great. I mean, cause this is a condensed.
Yeah, that's kind of what these priorities are.
I think they've really hit sort of across the board, but yeah.
So I wanted to alert the board too that I found out that the shining star at South Suburban was leaving. Did you know that? Ryan Hanker's.
He's so, oh my gosh, I used to be on the public art committee, he was our staff liaison.
He
He's great.
He is
Excellent.
fantastic. Yeah, he said he wasn't looking, but somebody came to him and I'm like, well, anything better in South Suburban, no wonder you're leaving. So with that in mind, do we want to move up in the priority list that the ESB would act as an accountability body for the city's relationship with South Suburban?
Higher on this list.
Yeah.
How high up would we want to go?
Second to the bottom. Oh, how high would it go?
I think the top two,
Make
stay
it
top
third.
two. Yeah, maybe make it third.
Get people out of cars too.
Yeah, I think the three would be okay.
Kelsey, did you see the last one? How about the last one?
Sorry, I'm like,
Bomb drop.
yeah.
Run away.
Community supported agriculture at the museum.
Yeah, that was a really interesting idea. I feel like
They
that makes a lot of
don't
sense.
throw the pumpkins there.
It's a ton of sense.
They just like truck them in.
Yes.
Really?
No.
And have a like
Horrible.
farm to table meal there once a year, harvest dinner.
Do they have to do everything as though it's 1860 though?
Yeah, we all have to speak like that in
No, I
order for the
was-
students, yeah.
For real though.
And I will bring the beer.
When I was pro tem, I talked to the then beginning, so can we do community supported agriculture on these fields that are currently fallow? And he said he would disrupt the community interpretive mission, which was code for, I don't feel like moving this way. And, because I don't think it's as thoughtful as it would necessarily disrupt, and I think it
Garden
very
in
much
1860s.
Yeah, they did garden in 1860s.
Yeah, of course.
Yay.
That's why they have me.
Is it the then director?
What's that?
That was the then director?
Is Tim Nim still?
Then-
Tim Mims, Yes, so still the same director.
That was awesome.
He was both library and museum director. Museum. I think this actually looks good. So we're done.
I have one more question,
Yeah,
actually.
please.
So the colors on the gauges, so some are like all the way full and they're green, and some are all the way full and they're red.
Yeah.
What do the colors mean?
So, impact versus effort the color schemes are different, because with impact, the full gauge being green means it's gonna have the highest impact possible. Small gauge red would be, we think it'll have a lower impact. Whereas on effort, full gauge is red because it is hard. It's gonna be really hard. I don't know, maybe it is worth,
Do we need a
Just like a
color?
little
on
key
impact?
or
yeah,
Key.
legend, somewhere. I'm fine putting that in.
Yeah, do you need a color then on impact if the gauge is the indicator?
Well, it's both, so you can either look at where the gauge is, or you can just look at the colors.
So-
So like picking one that's green is important.
It's high impact, low effort. Picking one that's like red would be low impact, high effort. So like theoretically, you wanna find one that's two greens. That would be a low hanging fruit.
Yeah, okay.
Two reds would be like, that's gonna be lower on the list.
We used to say high, we had high, medium, and low, but we thought this added that visual aspect to really make it pop. So looking for.
Cause it was just
greens
like
or
words
greens and yellows.
previously, yeah, and so looking at colors makes it a little bit more reader friendly in some ways, but I also don't wanna confuse people now.
Like a key or legend could help a lot, I think. Yeah, just explaining, it's as clear as you can get it.
Maybe on the acronyms page,
Oh, yeah. that
Seems
would-
like a logical place to me.
and there's space underneath.
Oh, look at that.
Just a preamble.
It was meant to be.
Yeah, let me add.
To take some of the pressure off Hannah while she's adding that. I just wanna.
And I guess actually real quick, are we imagining that it's basically gonna have all 6 versions of what those gauges could be? So it'll have like impact, 3 different gauges, kind of the meaning, effort, 3 different gauges, the meaning. Does that sound like what we're, okay, I mean, it should be easy enough to.
Yeah, I mean, literally, you're
So-
just writing high impact, medium impact, low impact, and
Right.
matching it with the right color, right?
You could include an example even like the one you
Yeah.
explained,
Yeah.
like
High impact.
green over here, but green.
Copy all 6 gauges, explain all 6 gauges real quick.
Yeah.
So like 2 sentences.
This is one of the what version drives me crazy.
What were you gonna say, Elizabeth?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, so for the if the creative services team takes the plan and adds like pictures and things, I just wanna make sure, because there wouldn't be another opportunity for you all to like double check it, right? So if that's okay,
Personal computer.
I just wanna make that very clear, because just the timeline, so if it's and I don't wanna deter you by any means, but like absolutely happy, and I have been talking to Carla, so she knows that it's coming up.
Tell them not to mess with the gauges.
Well, yeah, no, I think, but I just wanna make sure
Or if they have a
that,
way of making them prettier, that's fine too, like.
well, I just wanna make sure that
But that could be scary.
Well, just that it's very clear that the first time you will see it then is sort of like when it gets posted the Thursday before the 23rd. So if that's okay, I mean, we can,
How much do you trust them?
I mean, I think Carla's amazing, and I trust them a lot, and also we're being recorded, but no, they're amazing. Carla
To
is,
just do aesthetics.
yeah, I mean, Carla is phenomenal, and I would trust her probably like with my whole, I would let her like decorate my whole apartment, and just like freely give her
That's
money.
pretty good.
So, but I just want it to be very clear that that is the decision that you're, and if for some reason it's like, one of you emails me on that Friday and you're like,
Oh my God, no.
what? We can fix it, but that, just so that that's very clear to you all.
As long as they don't mess with the text or the substance and make
Well,
it
no, and they're,
more appealing, I
yeah.
don't have any problems with that, does anybody?
No, I'm kidding.
No, it's what they do professionally for the city. I think this will be a pretty basic task for them.
Were there gauges that are on the effort that were like all the way to the right and green?
There should not have been, but if you found one, let me know.
No, okay, I know, I'm sorry. Yeah, the confusion was simply the green versus red, kind of meaning opposite things.
So low is always low, like
Low
always
is
to the left,
always-
but low is sometimes good.
And
Right.
sometimes red and sometimes green,
Yes.
depending on if it's impact or effort.
Do we want to put any
Just stick
like
with
further
the-
description in this?
Only what you
I
think.
think Kelsey had some ideas.
Oh, I liked the example you explained, so that could be helpful to add if you feel like you have room to say like, when it's green, like full tank on the
Yeah.
impact, plus green, low tank on the effort, like that's a very positive, low hanging fruit, high impact, low effort action.
So you could even just direct the reader to what, a really desirable initiative is high impact, low effort.
Yeah.
Which we more or less ignored when we came up with our list of priorities.
Would that just kind of be a note?
But some of the most important ones are high effort and high
For
impact.
example,
The only other thing I was thinking about as I was thinking about this report is, one thing I would like council to know, and I hope we get a chance to say this to them, is one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes is, "I didn't have time to write you a short letter, so I wrote you a long one." We took the time, we wrote them a short letter. This is designed to be skimmed and read through quickly, so that you can immediately tell, what is it we think is important? And that's hard to do.
I mean, I can talk about that in the staff communication if you want. Yeah, I got you, girl.
And I'd like if possible to take our last 10 or 15 minutes to talk together about what we want to emphasize for council. Because it's a good opportunity, we don't get to have a full body in front of us really ever. This will only be our second time, and let's see what we want to emphasize.
I think definitely emphasizing that, making that priority, I mean, I wasn't at the last one, but making that priority list was difficult because we want everything on the list. Like we didn't put things on there that we don't.
And I think it's appropriate, well, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I think it's appropriate for us to graciously emphasize how they need to get to work on all of this stuff. A lot of us came to this board, a lot of us started thinking about stewardship and sustainability in the city for the reasons that Jeff mentioned. That we're nowhere, not nowhere, that's too pessimistic, but we could be much, much farther along than where we are now. And it's not something that can happen all slowly. It's all important.
Does that make sense? For example, a line item that is considered high impact and low effort will appear with 2 green gauges.
Yeah. Call it an action item.
Thank you.
You can even paste those pages in below with that.
Like this colon.
So
See with 2 green.
That would
colons,
be
that's impact.
impact on the left, yeah.
Just getting back to what Scott mentioned, I absolutely think we shouldn't be patting ourselves on the back because we have good work product here, because the city of Littleton hasn't done anything yet. And we need council to do it. So I think emphasizing the urgency there is absolutely crucial when we meet with them. Saying, don't be, oh yay, we have an ESB now, so hooray, Littleton, we've done so much. We haven't done anything. So
Not always productive with elected officials. We might want to lead with, good job, you're hiring or have hired a sustainability coordinator.
It's budgeted for this year, it's budgeted.
yeah, sure.
Good job. Good job.
The public works director or the community development director, everyone knows like
Don't
priority.
stop, because we need to accelerate.
Yes, but always couched in excellent work.
Give them a
Excellent.
gold star.
And that we're very thankful that they created this.
And we are. Yeah, that's not just.
Yeah.
Right.
And do something already, for God's sake, is really what I want to say.
Well, and I mean, I think it's We actually have a very receptive council, which has not always been true. I would say a super majority. You probably get unanimity on some of these things, but on most of these things, we'll have a super majority of 5 votes. Steve, Lyle, Gretchen, Pam, I would say Andrea, probably.
Robert, too. probably.
Robert for sure, yeah, and you'll get, I would say, Councilmember Driscoll coming along on a lot of it, and especially the water stuff. So it is a good opportunity. You never know what the next election is gonna bring politically to the city. And so I just to underline that we have a chance now to make progress on some of this stuff. And I will add, because I'm always saying this, that when the city did the very heavy lift of increasing the sales tax increase in 2021, whenever that was that we did that, people forget this, but we pushed hard for some of those proceeds to be earmarked for stewardship and sustainability efforts in the city. So while we're gonna, of course, look to partnership funds and grant funds and federal funds and all kinds of funds, right? We have dedicated money in the city that the voters told us needed to be used for, among other things, environmental stewardship. And I want to invite council to use that money for this. It takes money and we have some, so.
Elizabeth, would you feel comfortable putting that in the staff summary also?
I'll try with the city manager. I think that one might come better from you all as the committee. Just with the heightened priorities right now in pedestrian and bike infrastructure and some of those things, I might not feel as comfortable, but I think that is 100% fair game for the conversation.
And
I just like,
on top of the local funds and funding, we're at kind of an unprecedented time in federal and state grants that are available, which I think the sustainability manager really should be tasked with finding and taking advantage of to execute a lot of these items in here.
When will that person be hired? Is there a plan for that?
It's budgeted, but the timeline for hiring, we don't know.
Is there a post up or anything? Nothing? Too many other people, positions to fill for?
well, I think some pretty significant, public works director is massive.
Yeah.
And they just hired the new communications director. So I've been pushing it every day. I talk with our Mike a lot, so pushing for you. But I think that there are just some big fish.
And that looks awesome. Something
Yeah.
weird is going on with that effort on the bottom right. It's like higher than the impact one. All the way at the bottom.
Here? Oh. I think it might be the way they're cropped, unfortunately.
I can change it a little bit when it's a PDF.
It's PDF.
When save it as a PDF. In Adobe, I can move it a little bit so that it's more.
So we will have the final version of this available, which will be a public document the Friday before.
It should, they go out the Thursday, so.
And is it okay for us to then share this? Like,
I think it's.
I assume it's a public document, however our little hearts fancy.
Once it's posted to the website as the agenda, it's yours.
Scroll when you use that top menu is like your.
And then, that should be the 18th.
Scroll down just a little bit until it's cut off.
Sometimes it gets pushed if it's a big agenda, but there's 2 items. It's, Project Downtown update is right before and then this one, so
Scroll down.
it should be going out. But it's usually around 4:30.
Too far. You can just use
So are
the
we,
menu to see if they are lined up, so come down to the top.
I mean, we don't vote in a formal sense.
So you can see the
but
bottom of the
I
words.
think it's important that we
Oh, I mean, the words will be,
sort of finalize the
Yeah,
document.
it's-
because, like a thumbs up,
Everything.
straw poll, whatever you wanna call it.
Unfortunately, that is, I mean, maybe
Just before we leave the sharing
for sure.
topic, I want the committee to be aware that it has already been shared.
Well, even like the greens don't match.
And already the comments are coming back in.
Like,
So no, once it is a public document, it's gonna be critiqued.
Oh, yeah, as it should.
Yes, as it should. Just remember not to take it too personally. And it's.
Did you hear about
public
the
document.
So use it as an invitation, hey, come help us, right? Not necessarily as a formal member of the board.
Couple said they were gonna look at it.
Sustainability and stewardship.
People have changed it a lot.
If you think that this needs to go farther, like, show up to our meetings and tell us, and show up to council and tell council.
Is
And
that the feedback you're hearing or the opposite?
it's such a small sample.
Well,
size.
I'm you come back.
Not half bad.
That is good, right?
That's being
Are
is
we
that-
ready to cast a straw poll on the document? Is there anything else that needs changed or added or subtracted? We're good. Elsie, Andrew, thank you for reading it. Thank you for your-
Thanks for your feedback.
Very comprehensive. Yeah, great job.
All right, I'm just gonna ask us for a straw poll. Everyone who's ready to pass this document to council to finalize it, are we, give me a thumbs up? I know we're not gonna pat ourselves on the back, but I'm gonna pat ourselves on the back for a second.
Huge effort here. Honestly.
I've said it before, but I think it bears reiterating. In the recent history of board and commissions in Littleton, this board jammed. We went from brand new board to this, I think, very impressive work product in 14, 15 months. And we got there by having a ton of passion, by having a ton of knowledge, and by putting in the work. I mean, we've been doing twice monthly meetings for a while now. And I just want to say that I really, really appreciate everyone's input. This is awesome. This is the kind of stuff I've been hoping for on the topics of sustainability and stewardship in the city. It's really cool for me personally to have it to this point. So thank you all seriously for your hard work and for being a part of the board. Still getting used to that. So yeah.
Thank you for being our fearless leader.
Yes, thank you, Scott. You did a great job leading this committee and you did not kick anybody out.
You kicked people out before? Oh, okay.
I'm bored.
Anything else that we want to add to the strategy brainstorm for our meeting with? Actually, Elizabeth, can you first of all just walk us through time and place? Is there going to be, you'll just send us an email, a reminder, you're all meeting with council tonight. You're just in that?
I'm gonna send it up for Thursday. I can also send you one on that Tuesday. I'll send you the agenda specifically on Thursday, just like I would if we had our meeting. And then I can send you the meeting.
It is April 23rd.
April 23rd, 6:30 is when the meeting starts.
That's in.
There is one a little later, but just don't expect like, you know, if once, as soon as that item is done, you're.
Do this
you're
the
going,
whole
so.
time.
It's Project Downtown. It's a pretty big one.
Oh, God.
At least you're not going at like 10
Take like
PM,
3
because then
hours.
council's not gonna care. So we, yes.
It's never gonna happen.
Hey, so
I
you
know.
can feel free to show up 7-ish, push it to 7:15 if you want. But the session will start at 6:30 and I was not planning on sitting with you. It's your document, it's your plan. It's not like a,
I wasn't planning.
No. It sounds like that. It's not like, but like really, this is your work and this is, so, but I will be there, so, for anything, but yeah.
Question, this is a study session, right? This is not a public meeting.
It is a public meeting, so it will be recorded.
But it's not, okay, so, but it's a study session.
Study session, no public comment.
That's what I was, sorry. Comment, yes.
Yeah. So no public comment on this. I mean, there will be ways in which council will hear about it, but no like 3-minute. Then the next session, anybody could. Anything
Any,
else?
no, I think any staff comments before we adjourn? I don't have anything. Any board members have any comments? All right.
Can't make the South Platte Renew Earth Day cleanup. Breckenridge Brewery is doing a cleanup on 420. We're now owned by.
Owned by a cannabis company.
Not that kind of.
Don't get me started.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, 10 a.m. on the South Platte River. We have 3 different locations to choose from: Denver Audubon, Reynolds Landing, and then a little further north that I can't recall the location of right now. So lots of locations to choose from.
Is there stuff on the website? Like if anybody is watching this in like a week from now.
Yeah, well, so it's posted on the Breckenridge Brewery website, breckbrew.com, and also the social media. They just posted it yesterday.
Social media.
Yeah. So
Is Sophia gonna be there or like?
I mean, probably Sophia, my baby.
Oh, yeah, that's, all right. I forget my own kids' names too.
Yeah, let's formally adjourn.
All right.
Thanks again, everyone.
Good work, wow.
I knew you.